On this episode of the Post House Podcast, we find out how our sultry-voiced Director of Operations, Scott Baldner, went from creating commercials to building out budgets. I also hear he's in a band. Cough, cough.
So, Scott, welcome to the Post House Podcast.
Thank you.
I don't have any zany voice to get us going yet.
Hey!
So, Scott Baldner, the Director of Operations, Senior Producer at Post House Creative.
Yes.
Know each other for a long time now. Worked together for a while. You are VP 1 or 2 for... I always get confused.
AAF.
For AAF Columbus?
VP 1 for the next 4 months, and then president.
So Scott is a very talented individual here. Runs the day-to-day, in charge of all the meetings, and heavy account interaction with most of our clients. So has a good beat on the day-to-day and good pulse of what's happening. But in the operations role. So, but you still get to be creative, right? So,
yes.
So let's talk a little bit about, some of the fun things about working at Post House.
Do it.
Post House is, we try to build a culture of a place to be, personally, creatively, and professionally fulfilled. So, let's talk about some of the personal fulfillment. I mean, you have some pretty long relationships with some people here.
Yeah, I think that the people here definitely are a part of it. But personally fulfilling aspects of Post House for me, I think are more so the work environment and the shared responsibility. I know I've talked with you a bunch about it, but we get treated with the same respect that we treat everybody with here. There's no clock in, clock out mentality. It's very well known that everybody has lives outside the office. We've got work to do here. We want it to be good work, but everybody's got work to do for themselves outside of here too. And so that, shared respect amongst everyone is what's most personally fulfilling for me about being at Post House. Yeah,
I mean, when it comes to it, I feel like it's a little bit of there's a lot of unsaid things, and I know that you and I have a pretty good relationship that we both can be thinking the same thing, and we just would react rather than actually say something. So, having this, going through this process of like Story Forge, where we, distill it down to where we feel like it's, really these three things that make us who we are and how it affects our work and our culture and the types of people that we hire and just the relationships that we have with one another. Talk to me a little bit about that unsaid respect. I mean, you touched on it, but like, how does that help in these, you've worked with some people, you've worked with Rick for a long time. Yeah. You were an intern with Rick, that's 10, 15 year relationship.
Going on 15.
So, you can know what someone's thinking or, what they maybe meant without them actually saying it. So talk through some of that personal interaction and that how that helps in that fulfilling role of the pillar at Post House for it.
Sure. I mean, I think probably in the most basic sense is that everybody here values relationships, and that's why we don't have a lot of turnover, truthfully. I mean, our turnover is people that have been here for 5 years and want to pursue something else. We don't have people that come in and work for 6 months and then leave. So I think that everybody likes that relationship, not just with long-term relationships with clients, but with people that work here. So yeah, I've worked with Rick. It's a good relationship, like every relationship, ups and downs, but a lot more ups than downs. And, everybody's different. So you get used to, they like to do that. I don't like to do that. They go do that. So, I mean, John's been here before me. So John's been here 7 years.
Yes, I think so. 7 years. Yeah.
And yeah, it'd be a different place without John. And Andrew's been here, and you can go down the list. Even the people that have just started have already been here a year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have anybody that's really less than that.
So, I mean, I think that there's some stability in those relationships and that they're relationships that people want to keep.
And I mean, when you're in a work environment, a lot of the times you don't necessarily get to know your coworkers, at least at other jobs where, I mean, you might hang out at work, but
Yeah.
I mean, we have a unique position here at Post House because a lot of times we kind of live with one another for a set amount of time on the road or on projects,
Sure, for sure.
travel the world together, those types of relationships. And I think John says that there's like the work Scott, and then there's like the road Scott, like
Office Scott.
Yeah, office Scott. Okay,
Yeah.
so like what does he mean by that? Like, what's the? I mean, is it when it's a little more freeing to be out and not in the?
Yeah.
in
I got to
the
worry
office?
about usually one thing when we're on the road, whatever we're on the road for, truthfully.
So it narrows the focus and
Yeah, well, it's a little lighter responsibility.
I gotcha.
Honestly, I would worry about that. And, hey, we flew here, we're here. Check. That's done. That's off the list. So I don't have anything till we're ready to go tomorrow, Stuff like that. I mean, we check in, text calls with you, etc. when one of us is here and the other isn't. But yeah, it's a little bit different. Nobody stops by your office with a question about something that you weren't even working on when you're on the road.
Right. The variety of work, we often talk about when we're on the road or when we really, I feel like that's really where you really get to know a lot of your coworkers or even your clients. Some of the best relationships we have are clients that we've been in the trenches with on the road or really long days. And, relationships matter. Like how do those relationships, get built and talk about the trust that's built with those things.
I mean, it's kind of like Bill Murray's quote, right? You want to travel the world with someone that you think you love, and if when you get back you still love them, then you can marry them.
Okay.
It would suck.
Bill Murray.
It would suck to travel with someone that you didn't like. I think that, for me, it's back to that mutual respect thing. I travel with John the most, probably. Rick's probably second. And so I can speak a lot to John and I on the road. John likes keeping the band together. That's what we call it. He likes being paired up. We're going to pair up. There's three of us. We should all go do that thing.
Gotcha.
Where I'm more, I don't want to go do that thing. Go do that thing. And I'm not mad. You go do that. And he does sometimes. He's got friends some places. When we're in Denver a lot. He's got friends he goes and meets up with for a night. And it's cool. And I just think it's that sort of shared respect, truthfully, and communication about when are we going to meet,
And then
respect each other. Yeah, I respect you enough that I said we were going to meet at 8. We met at 8. We're ready to go. Let's go. You said you were going to charge the batteries. Batteries are charged. I don't even ask. It's that shared respect.
And I do think that we have that unique experience together because, a lot of the people who are still here, we have traveled the world. I mean, obviously John and Andrew are related and they see each other a lot outside and they have their own relationship.
I don't know. I never hear much about them.
Maybe at family functions,
Yeah.
I don't know, or dysfunctions or whatever they want to say. But I do know that there is something about that bond of traveling and we have, we have clients that, man, we really got to know them on the road and that really harbors some great relationships, which in turn, it turns into a business transaction at some point. We have to come down to business, but you and John went to Carhenge. You took a little,
And Rick.
Wasn't he kind of sleeping in the back with a puffy ear or
Yeah,
something?
puffy. Yeah, he couldn't hear us. So yeah, we cut through to Nebraska and saw the billboard and, I just turned to John. I was like, you thinking what I'm thinking? He was like, says 12 miles. We should go. So we went, shared experiences. I mean, that's what I was thinking. If the flight or the airport delay or whatever stinks, you're not doing it solo.
Right.
You're there, 3 other people. It stunk for all 3 of you, so you're sort of in it together, both in the lows and the highs. Or if something was awesome, you shared it all together.
Yeah.
You had a good meal, whatever. You all did it together. It's hard to come back and tell people about that and have them buy in or be excited for you. I mean,
Right.
sure, they'd be happy,
Right.
but it's not the same as being there. So
Commiserating together
Yeah.
or celebrating together or
Right.
whatever. I mean, we don't travel a whole lot together just because of our roles here.
Right.
Like, it's hard for us to both be out of the office, because of the weight of projects that we have and, keeping the day-to-day operations going. But we did have, I remember Man, I think we've had pretty bad experiences like traveling. Like I think we were in New York. We're doing the Sports Illustrated swimsuit thing with Ashley Graham. We were working with Lane Bryant, which was a client that, you know, they said, hey, you know, one of our models is going to be on this cover of Sports Illustrated. We want you guys to go cover it. So, you know, we go off into New York, and it's a day trip, and we book our flights, and we're there at 6 a.m. off the plane and at the event, and then it starts snowing, and flight's delayed. Flight's delayed another hour. Flight's canceled. So I'm like, oh, sweet. We had a great meal. You know, I think we went to Italy or whatever, right?
Yeah, some Italian place.
We had a great evening. It was a snowy evening. Stayed in a, you know, nice hotel, and it was okay. And but the next day, we lived at the airport.
Yeah, we did.
And I think there's a picture somewhere. We had like 22 different standby flights.
I think so. Yeah, 11 each, something.
Yeah, because we were trying to get back to Columbus. You know, before we had to go to another party, which was in Miami, right?
Yep.
So we blew a day in New York airport or whatever. I think
LaGuardia, lovely place.
And we were trying to get back to Columbus to, you know, we packed for one day. It was a day trip. Like I didn't have it.
We had already gone and bought clothes.
Yeah, we went
to stay for the night in New York.
Yeah, we went
for the next day.
Went to like Uniqlo and bought some underwear or whatever we did.
Underwear, socks.
And yeah, we were a day behind, so we're gonna go back home and change and, you know, sleep in our beds. Yeah, it was all carry on, and the gear was all carry on. We're trying to keep our sticks.
Tripod.
I don't know.
We never found them. Remember?
Oh God, that's right.
Anyway.
They never did come back. Anyway, so we basically were stuck at the airport, and we were nice enough to the ticket agent that the last flight out to Miami, on the day before we were supposed to be there, we just happened to. We were on the plane. I started watching a movie.
I was watching Jurassic Park, I think.
And the lady like gave us wrong tickets or something. We weren't on the manifest or something, and they pulled us off the plane.
Is that what it was?
And then as they pulled us off the plane, we just happened to get lucky that there was 2 more seats on this other plane that the lady escorted.
No, our crew timed out.
That's what it was.
The whole plane turned around. We were taxiing.
I get like this whole.
Yeah.
I felt like we got pulled off a plane at one point too.
Well, we had scoured. We had to make the decision that we couldn't get back to Columbus, and then also make a flight to Miami the next morning. So we just said, can we just transfer and not go to Columbus? I can't remember what we set a time. But if we can't get on a flight to Columbus by 6 p.m., 8 p.m., then we should change and just try to go from New York to Miami. And so we knew all the flights. And so when we got back from that to that terminal after that plane, at least I knew, I'm pretty sure you did, there's only one left.
Yeah.
And so while everybody was getting in line at the ticket or the terminal that we
went down to Joe's plane. Like someone from Lane Bryant. Lane Bryant was on this plane. We're like, is your plane still here?
Yeah, he said, yeah. So we just went there.
Yeah, and we got on the plane, and then we get into Miami.
Kindness pays off, right?
Yeah,
we didn't curse at anybody, and
no, we were got
the last ones, and the guy yelling got no ticket.
That's right, and I think we got in at like 4 a.m. Our call time was 6. So like we slept maybe an hour.
I got socks at CVS.
I think I had to buy more underwear, and they didn't have men's underwear.
Hot. So it was hot. I can't remember. We had winter stuff.
I think we ended up buying, I think I bought some like workout like shorts or something. Anyways, the fact is that we share that experience, and you know that's unique to us, and that's unique to our relationship. And honestly, as I look back, it was fulfilling. I mean, it really was. It was like you had a challenge, and we had to try to problem solve it, and make decisions, and we were stuck in an airport. But at the end of the day, we still did the job. We still did the job for the client, and it was fun. It was a good, creatively fulfilling project.
That was my first time really pushing the limits of standby. Yeah. I'd only done it when like the airline did it for you. We'll put you on standby on that flight, and then if your other plane comes in, we'll go. And then when found out that we could just get standby on all of them.
Yeah, that's what standby on this one, standby on this one.
Standby on that one.
Yeah, we had 11 tickets each. Interesting, yeah, because we had standbys to Miami, we had standbys to Columbus. I think we were trying to even get back to like
Cincinnati or
Cincy or something.
We were somewhere close. We had all types of options.
But nonetheless, I mean, at the end of it, it was creatively fulfilling. So in that creative fulfillment, mindset, like you're, a lot of times people think of you as just the operations guy, but you get to do some fun projects still and that are fulfilling, or maybe things that other people don't think are creatively fulfilling. But now you have a new role. I mean, because you started out as an editor and producer, and you're also a very talented musician. So like you have this wide background of creative execution, right? So how is it in this role? How is it different at your time here at Post House?
I don't know. I kind of view it the same. I mean, every now and then I get a really stronger itch to lay what we call creative thumbprint on something. But what I've loved about this industry since I started was that it was different every day. It was something different. Learn something different was the main one for me, because we don't have one client in one industry. We get to interact with a lot of different industries, a lot of different clients. So I like, every project we do, I learn something from that client, that industry, something that I didn't know, and nor would I know if we weren't doing this. Because it's not like you learn someone's sales process at a cocktail party talking to them.
Right.
We did it with them for 6 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, where we were in the trenches figuring out how their sales process worked so that we could help communicate that to their employees, their associates, whatever.
Right.
And vice versa. I mean, even before Post House, I didn't know much about hockey at all.
Right.
I'd been to a couple hockey games, but then, you get to work with hockey players. You're like, I should learn some hockey so I can talk to these guys and not sound like a fool. And I'm sure that we still do on a large occasion, but,
right.
I'm the one telling people hockey rules when we go to a game,
right,
where it used to be the other way around. So just all those examples, that's what gets me. I mean, yes, I make estimates now and stuff, but
pretty accurate with them, by the way.
Thank you. I would concur. But figuring out how to make the spreadsheet work the way that we would like it to work, that's creatively fulfilling, because I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to work like that.
Right. I mean, there's a math problem that an equation that's written like around the office, because
it's on that post-it.
It's we knew it was somewhere. Because I would always ask, what do I
reverse percentage?
Reverse percentage is like
line items,
a mind melt sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's, different between you and I. Like I think nowadays you definitely would be a Common Core kind of math person.
For sure. I would have had a lot of fun with that.
And,
that was the thing.
I'm like, math is, math comes to me differently, but we always get the same result. He's like, how the hell did you get to that?
Thank God we don't have to show our work.
I know, right? It's just like, well, I got this, and then kind of walk through the steps. And I find those conversations, we have those conversations a lot. And I think that that's another interesting thing with just how to getting to know your colleagues is, you might have to walk me through because a lot of times I come to you with ideas that are pretty well fleshed out, or I've spent 6, 8, 10, maybe 5 days thinking of
Monday
them.
Mornings are interesting.
Like, hey, here's what I'm thinking, and we have to take a step back, and that's a good reminder of that creative process. But a lot of times, it's the same thing that our clients do for us. I mean, they come to us with hey, we got this thing, help us solve this thing, right? And then we have to walk the process back too. So it's a good exercise.
Much like, I'm sure it's not just you. I'm sure that I do the same. But on Monday mornings when we haven't seen each other, maybe some text or whatnot, but to come in and start talking about something Monday morning, have to go, whoa, fill me in on the 2 days of thinking that happened on this before you started talking to me.
Right.
That is a lot what happens when we first start working with a client.
I mean,
whoa.
Yeah. So
break it down for us like we've never heard it because we haven't.
Right. So your HR process is what now?
Right.
Okay. But I mean, but it's different. Like, I sat in a chair, you sat in a chair, and the problems that we would solve would be how does this shot fit in this sequence, or how does this
puzzle piece? I always talk about.
And I love that example because it is, you have all this
Here are all the pieces,
and you know what it needs to look like.
Yeah, finished picture up here.
And it's how you get there, and that's a exercise and a great creative exercise. But now as you're in the position where you already see the picture and you have to help coach, to get to your vision, right? Like it's, that, no, that I understand that piece fits here, but that's not how it fits. Can you talk a little bit about that process and how that's a challenge and that's fulfilling to,
Yeah.
because we've had, we've had employees over the year and teammates that, come in like Andrew, like, came in as an intern and, he learns a little bit and, learns a little more. And then next thing you know, he's like, oh, here you go. Here's your project. We've had editors the same way that come in and like really coach them up and you work with them. And the next thing you know, you don't have to step in the room anymore. You see it at the 90% and it's just, okay, tweak this. How is that as a teacher, as a mentor? Talk to me about that being fulfilling.
It was challenging to go from doing to helping. Teaching sounds so pretentious to me, because everything sort of is, but that's also my personality. But yeah, I mean, it was challenging. It was like, okay, I know how to do this, but knowing how to do it and then being able to help someone else do it are different.
Right.
Because, for my puzzle analogy, the picture that you're making when you're editing or even motion graphics or designing or whatever is in your head. So I'd spent 6 years showing people what was in my head by making it. Now it's not only my head, it's whoever's working on it.
Right.
So like, what's in your head? How does it look? If you close your eyes, what's it look like when you start? How's this video end? What, coming up with those types of questions to try to solicit that info.
Okay.
That people weren't accustomed to, because I wouldn't have been when I was, 4 or 5 years into editing, probably around that point of like, oh, here's how I'm going to start. Here's how I'm going to end. But before that, I would have been like, I don't know.
You just have to try.
Yeah, mix up the sauce a bit and see if it tastes good.
What about that? We talk about that time in anyone's career where like the light bulb, like they may be super proficient at like the technology, they may be technically sound, but when they see it, like how rewarding is that when like you've worked with them and all of a sudden you're just like, yes, or you can remember the time when you saw it.
Yeah, I try to always remember that.
And
I say it to you the most.
Right.
I remember not seeing it,
right.
Not getting it. This makes us old, but when you and I came out, knowing the software was like the biggest hurdle.
Right.
Knowing what buttons were what and how they worked, and programs were annoying, and to do the things that you can do now, you had to have like 10 steps
right.
to kind of trick the software. So that was a giant chunk of
the problem,
what I focused on
and
when we started.
Solving, right? It was
just to be able to take this part of footage and put it in between a clip.
Right.
You couldn't do that. You had to take a gap. You had to get, I was avid, so you had to get black. Black. Yeah. Insert the black. That could move it. You had no free moving timeline. So that was the challenge. And so then, just getting that language enough to be able to then do stuff, it was like, oh man, I had to have all that. Now I have to actually figure out what we're doing. What are we making?
Right. So, yeah. All right. So if you take a step back there and it's like, okay, I remember those challenges. How are the challenges different for like editors today who have maybe always grown? We kind of were in that digital analog like split, but now like it's 100% digital. Like, you're modeling everything after what you saw on YouTube, where like, oh, I remember when YouTube just became a thing,
right.
So it's, or, where did you get your info and that process, like when they can finally see like the end result before they start, like that's super rewarding. And then it's like, you can let them go and it's just, the product is so good. I'm just curious on like your thought. Is that something that is strong with you? Like when you see that, or is that a proud moment, or is it like, I don't have to worry about that anymore?
Yeah, it's probably all right.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of okay, I don't have to worry about that anymore. We got that. But yeah, there's a, proud or happy for them,
Right.
like, yeah, that's a big step. It's a little bit of the forest for the trees.
It's a great example.
Of like, okay, there's all this woods. This is the tree. There it is. That's the one. Yeah, that's really cool.
All right, so I'm gonna take a little personal
Okay.
time here.
It's my least favorite.
I know.
Okay.
You've been in a band for most of your adult life. Like, I know that you guys now take only special events and things. But talk to me about your music career and your passion. Like, a lot of people, it's always funny. Like, some our clients will come out and like you'll be performing or whatever. And, I've been at shows and they're like, oh, wow, you're actually good.
You're actually good. Yeah,
like it's, I'm curious because there's some great stories that I've heard, like, where, your mom like earlier on says you need to smile more. And then like you're this performer,
Yeah.
in your band. And then like, it's like two Scots a little bit. So like, tell me a little bit about your passion about music and
It is.
in your background.
I remember when this is not part of your question, but you brought up my mom, and when I first told her that I was going to be in a band with my friends from college, she was like, "Are you going to be the manager?" I was like, "No, I'm going to be in the band." It's like, "Doing what?" Like, singing. I sing. I've sang my whole life with you. And I went to college for singing. I'm going to be the singer. She was like, "Oh, that'll be interesting."
It's confidence.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, you got to earn it, right?
It's true. And I mean, I've met your mom on a few occasions, and I definitely see where a lot of personality traits come. And
Yeah. But
apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
that's very true. But to answer your question, I think in college, since I was in a conservatory for music, which was all music, like that was it. That's when I realized it wasn't like my lifelong passion.
Okay.
It's not what I wanted to do. That old saying, like, do you wake up wanting to make music? Like, I didn't wake up wanting to make music. Like, I don't want to do this every day. This is fun. I like doing this for fun. And I don't want to do it for work. So being in a band has been a nice mix. Still involved in music a lot, but it's fun.
Right.
So it's definitely more of a lifelong hobby. The band I get paid, so that's nice. I mean, it's like a paying hobby.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it was...
Some would call that a job.
Yes.
But no.
It's the right mix right now.
Yeah.
If it was more, then it would be a job. But right now it's like a paying hobby and you get to drink, so that's fun too. And there aren't many of those. But when we started, it was definitely more fun building the band, building the business part of it, figuring out how to get gigs. And then, we focused on the music a ton, make sure that we were good. But truthfully, you get to a point and then it doesn't matter because places that are willing to pay you don't really care if you're that much better than another band. They brought 200 people.
Right.
So the economics, the business part of music gets in there, music business. And so that was fun too. Figuring out, we did all types of crap to try to get attention of the hot clubs back in the day, because that's what it was back then, trying to get into live music places where bands had played for 10 years and you're a startup. So, I mean, we did crazy, like we would pre-program, we would buy those when burner phones first came out.
Mm-hmm.
We would buy those and then program just our number in it and then mail them to bars.
Nice.
Like
That's
GMs
a good gig.
to
That's great.
try to get them to call us. They didn't.
That's a great gimmick, though.
Well, we thought it was hilarious. We thought, if nothing else, they'll remember us. And then we did, like, the one bar.
We should try that.
Frog Bear Wild Boar, if you remember that.
Yeah.
Down the arena. Notoriously hard spot to have a bar, apparently. But they booked us, like, 2 years later. And then I don't know if it was the same GM or if it was an assistant GM that was now the GM. When we brought up, they're like, that was you guys? So, like, we still remembered.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that's a great lesson in like how branding and advertising work. It might take a while for it to stick, but it stuck. So if it's a good thing, it'll stick in people's heads, which is cool.
Yeah, the other one for bands, we played band name, called it from Parks and Rec here all the time. But a good lesson in branding is if you come up with a band name and then start to get booked, you kind of have to keep using that,
Yeah.
even if it's not a great band name. And then you get stuck with a band name and you're called Sharp Circle for 12 years, which was never my favorite band name, but that's what I said into a microphone thousands of times in front of thousands of people. So good lesson on, doing a little homework instead of just being a bunch of 20-year-olds going, that's good enough, put it down, let's go.
I mean, it sounds like, at that point in your career, like there was a lot of blend of, like you were fulfilled, like it was professionally fulfilling because you got paid to sing, you're being creative, and then you got, like all the personal, the challenges and the personal side of you getting to do a hobby that you actually like. So,
it was great. We played a lot, and those are all definite. They're the same experiences that we've talked about. Most of the people in the band, we're on 15 years now, maybe more. And most of them are all the same from that time, or that we've picked up over the time and then kept because the band got bigger. So it is a lot of the same stuff.
Just like John says, keep the band together, right?
We really do, yeah. But yeah, like a lot of the same shared experiences and stories. Some will remember that time. Half people don't remember that. And then they start telling the story like, oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did do that. We did play that. We did whatever. So yeah, it's cool. And we used to play a ton when I had a job as an editor. And so we would do like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday gigs. And then that was when I was like, this is fun. This is what I want to do.
Right.
And so then we started scaling back after, 3 years.
I get it. So I want to talk to me a little bit about your journey here at Post House. So I have a really hard time with timelines and when things happen, but I do know that when we brought Rick on as biz dev, like you were right there, and I remember going on some trips really early on with you on the coast, and I think you went off to Italy for a couple weeks or something.
Yeah.
And how's your path been here? Like, I specifically remember having like lunch with you and saying, hey, I really need somebody to help with this operations. Like I can't split my focus. I can't grow without help. And I want someone to help me. And I'm highly confident it's you. Because you have that, definitely have the analytical brain and the organizational skills and the creative side. So that's not usually how it happens. You either have one or the other. So tell me a little bit about that. Like, if you can remember back, like just for historical sake,
for posterity.
Yeah.
Rick and I were both working together, but independently. It was a very weird, scenario. He's not here, so I would have made fun of him if he were here. This was 7 years ago when Rick was still talking about moving to Colorado.
He still talks about
that's what I mean.
Colorado.
But he was pretty hot and heavy about it at that point and had taken some steps. So he didn't want to get into anything super solid. So we just were doing projects together where, there were some that he got a majority of them, but I would edit them, or I had a couple things and I would have him help on the account side or produce it or write it. Because I wasn't a very strong writer. Probably not still, but I'm better now. So some of that stuff. So we were working, both out of our living rooms, truthfully, for almost 2 years, I think, which was fun. But during that time, I realized, I didn't like working alone all the time. Didn't like doing all of the project myself. So from start to finish, solo is tough. You've done it. You've been in the living room. It's hard. It's not as rewarding. You're in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Is what it feels like. So you're like, I can't tell if this is good. I just want to turn my computer off and go to bed.
Done.
So I knew I didn't want to do that. And then after editing for so long, I knew that I kind of wanted another challenge. And so that's when I think we were here. We had a lot of similar clients, truthfully.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Jackets was a big one, so Rick and I were still doing stuff for the Jackets. You were
different
doing stuff for the
departments,
Jackets. Yeah, different departments. That was when I first met John, like an opening night, I think we were doing.
Yeah, you were running around with a microphone, and I was like...
Yeah, I don't know. We had some GoPros. I don't know what I can't remember what we were doing, truthfully.
I think I got introduced to you 5 times that night by 5 different people. You know Scott.
Right, that's probably true, yeah.
We met, we know.
So yeah, I was the guy mounting a GoPro on the tripod
right.
that had a red on it. That's a nice camera. Can I put this on that tripod? Because you got a good spot. John was very nice. Helped me get it set up.
Really, John?
Yeah. His beard was only like this big at that point.
They even have a beard.
He did. But anyway, yeah. So then when Rick sort of came on, bigger clients that would have been hard, truthfully, for he or I to do. I mean, neither one of us wanted to buy gear.
Right.
You guys had really good gear and you were a lot of production then.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff made sense. And I mean, I know when I came on, I edited some stuff project-wise with you. But when we started talking, I remember distinctly telling you, like, I don't want to be your editor.
Right. I do.
Yeah. And I don't think that you believed me for a little bit because I think you wanted me to be the editor.
I did.
We
were good editors.
Yeah, you pushed pretty, well, thanks, but you pushed pretty hard. And I was like, I do that. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to keep moving on. So
I think it challenged me to think differently about the types of roles that we did need. I was like, well, okay, so if you don't want to, I mean, I think I've always like, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a lot of times what we ask everybody, like, if you have the opportunity to make this job whatever you want, we just need time to figure it out. So let's strive towards making it what you want. So what do you want? You're like, well, I want to, I think I want to be a little bit more involved in the business side of things. I want to be, have
more project management.
Project management.
When I started,
yeah. And I was like, well, hell, let's do it because we need it.
Yeah.
And if you can, I think at the time we had this illusion of busy,
talked about that a lot. Yeah.
We seemed busier than we were. And then when you came in as a very, very efficient editor, like I was like, holy crap, like that was really efficient. Like we have all this extra time now. Like we can do other things. And like, so that illusion of that we were busy was gone. And we really focused in on like process and business model and just what's the best way to lay this project management out, to lay these projects out, to hit these deadlines better, to basically just serve our clients better, like have a better process, a better operations process. I mean, that's how you kind of became director of ops.
Yeah. No, I forgot some of that, but yeah, before I edited, when I washed planes, we got paid by the job. And so I've sort of always been in a project by project role, which is what we are as a company. Work on projects. And so that was my mindset in editing too, which is I want to do this the best that I can, but I don't want to drag it out.
Right.
Just to make sure that I'm stay here till 5. I'd rather get done at 4 and then go do something else.
Right.
Which I think is a lot of the mentality that we have around here that I kind of truthfully forgot about. But yeah, that illusion of busy well, don't stretch it out just to be here, I guess. I don't know. I think we adopted that mindset more of let's get the project done because everybody does have stuff that they want to do outside of work. So let's work to get the work done and
I mean, because we
do something else, even if it's playing cards or finally, teaching Andrew how to play euchre.
Andrew doesn't know how to play euchre.
He does now.
Oh, good. So some of the projects that you got to work on last year, right? So it's award season. We've started submitting some things. What are the projects that stand out to you? What are the ones that you feel the best about? And then, they don't even, they don't have to be an award-winning project. They're like, what's the project that you worked on that you're like the most proud of this year?
Yeah, there's a couple different categories of what would make me proud of a project. One of them definitely is like the final creative that gets out there, but sometimes it's what did we take this from that it could have been or would have been or maybe even should have been to where we took it. And then some of it is like that was a ridiculous timeline. That was a ridiculous budget. And look at what we made. We didn't treat either of those as negatives.
Right. So
I think there's a lot. I mean, some we're not allowed to talk about as much because inside info, but it's the stuff that I get to do with Nationwide. There's usually of the 4 or 5 videos that we make for them, 1 or 2 that end up being like, those are awesome.
Right.
Those are cool videos. They trust us. They let us go with it. We still accomplish their goals, their message, communicate what they want to communicate in a way that, that same info could have been a pamphlet. It could have been an email.
Right.
But we got to work with them to take it to a really compelling piece of video. So that is super rewarding on a creative scale. That's probably not one that people think of a lot, like on a creative scale, because like, I don't know what people think happens with creative ideas. Like, I wasn't like woken up at 3 a.m. with this brilliant original idea that no one's ever heard of or thought of before. That's usually not creative.
Yeah. You said something earlier that, that you said you weren't a very good writer before and you feel like you're better now. Like, I'm going to have to say that in that process of these projects and, not being woken up at, like, we often come to each other with like little kernels of ideas. Everybody like, I kind of feel like it should be this. I kind of feel like it should be that. There's one piece that this last year that was a big challenge for us, and you did write it. And I don't think you at the time thought that you were writing it. And this is the Ronald McDonald.
Okay. Say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. What are you thinking of?
But it was the Ronald McDonald. Something's missing. We had these general ideas that like we know the story they want to tell, and what's the best way to articulate it. And we had big group session, and we thought of lots of different things, and then I just remember coming to you and saying, here's A and here's C. I don't know the middle. Like, here's the beginning, here's the end. Like, figure this out.
Yeah.
And you took that as a challenge, and you came back with something that you wrote, probably stream of conscious.
It was, I was just trying to do an outline.
And
ended up being more of a narrative.
And it was. And I just remember taking that to the committee and saying, here's the outline, here's the story. And there wasn't like a person in the, I read your the treatment, front to back, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. And I knew at that point that like, this is really good writing. And it doesn't have to be dialogue
right,
to be writing.
The strength of my writing usually is it has very little dialogue.
But still, like, that's where I think a lot of people get confused with, like, I'm not a good writer because it's not dialogue, or someone's not going to, have this, spoken out. But actually writing a story where you have descriptive narration and it's not spoken word, like, that's a skill set that, like, I think that I would say that you are a good writer. Well, and, and I think it translated because it was such a well-written vision that it was easily seen by everybody to make a really, really, really compelling piece of content. And, it's still, when people watch it, they can't see the end because they can't read the end for it because their eyes are full of water. So I just want to say that, like, that's a growth thing that maybe is self-reflective that we all don't think of, and it's hard to remember.
It is. I do remember at a certain point, and I've worked with other editors or people that do come up with those crazy original ideas and been like, man, that's not my strong suit. Like, I can come up with some,
right,
but not like those people that just like are always ideas. And where I thought like I need to get into producing more was me going, I know how to make that. I know how to make that better. I know how to make that finish.
Right.
And that I did get a lot of that on the Ronald McDonald one. Like, I didn't even go to the shoot, which was odd, weird for me to not be on a shoot like that or a production like that. But it was also kind of cool.
Just to see.
To just do that part.
And then see the
and then
result.
Everybody else work on it. Yeah.
I mean,
make it a thing, It was flat. I don't want to get into too many, cheesy metaphors, but it was just paper.
No, but it's
everybody else made it a thing, made it a video.
But I think that's the stuff that's super, fulfilling, right? I mean, that's creative. That's a creative process.
For sure.
That's something that obviously is personal to you, and I think that down the road, I mean, it's such a good piece. I think that it will probably do well, in the market. It already has, there's a lot of really good feedback. And
Hope so.
I think that, if, you talked earlier about putting your thumb on something creatively, like that's, you were there at the beginning, and you wrote it start to finish. It just visually came to life by other people. So I think that that's pretty.
It is. No, I do. I mean, the truck looked like the truck that was in my head that we wrote,
Yeah.
that type of stuff.
It's yeah. I mean, it's that process, and it's that. And that's what I love about working with everybody, and when projects like that come together, I feel like that's when we're doing our best, and it's for a great cause, and
Yeah.
Everyone really got to be involved, and I don't know, it's a good thing, but like here we are, 2019. Which is crazy to think. I mean, it's already 2020, right? That's how we think ahead.
Definitely, yeah.
And we're already in the summer. We're in the second quarter already.
For sure.
What's coming up for you? What's exciting for you, Mr. Baldner?
You mean on my personal life?
Yeah, well, just in general. I mean, we kind of are, professionally. And this is a little bit of everything.
Yeah, getting married.
You're getting married. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
You've known your lovely fiance for a very, very long time. It goes back to music days, yes?
It does, yeah. She was a freshman. I was a senior in college.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
that would have been 2003.
Probably going to buy a house this year.
Looking into it, all the fun that is. A new challenge.
That's fun.
For sure.
And then...
lots of math.
Lots of... There's good spreadsheets. You can dial all those in.
Yeah, long-term spreadsheet.
So 2019 is going to be a big personal year for you.
Yeah.
Professionally, what's coming down? What are you looking forward to?
I mean, we've been talking about how we're going to evolve Post House.
Right.
And so, the cameras can't see it, but I'm looking at the giant whiteboard that we scribbled on at the beginning of this week or end of last week, I can't remember, about new ideas on how to continue to grow Post House and have everybody get to do what they love to do, and then us as well be fulfilled with continuing to grow Post House and keep expanding relationships with not the people that work, and not only the people that work here, but with our clients too. Yeah,
and touching on that client relationship part, like it's we talked about it earlier, but just how important it is, and how long-term relationships matter. And that's the evolution. It's like we already know these things exist. It's like putting these things into action, right? It's talking about them. It's trying to develop these relationships, and kind of what are your thoughts on like that strategy? Like, I mean, how do we grow these relationships? I mean, how, like, what's the mindset? What's the philosophy?
I think it's the same as what we talked about with getting people to work at Post House and why they're here. Most of our clients are that way too. That they're people that we like. And those are the people that you want to keep growing a relationship with. We've got clients, you were referencing Lane Bryant. We haven't worked with them professionally in a while, but still hit them up on Facebook about whatever they posted. There's still a relationship there that exists even without work.
Right.
And I think those are the ones that are the most fun.
Definitely. And then like, to bring full circle your Bill Murray quote, right? I mean, when when you're with a client and you figuratively go around the world with them or literally go around the world with them, and if you still want to have that relationship, you're probably you're gonna be together, right? I mean, that's we know that people in business move from different departments or different companies, and
sure.
It's interesting in how I think you learn early on, or at least you're told early on. It may not click, but it is who you know, and it is that relationship and and how much relationships matter. And when you get to stir it all up in a pot and have some fun and be creative, and we do get paid,
for sure.
This is a job.
There, there's exchange of money for goods and services,
right?
But I mean, it's not. I don't know. I think that we've got a good enough relationship that we're good enough people. Truthfully, I mean, I don't want to be braggadocious about that, but we do what we say we're going to do. We're not jerks.
Right.
And so if a client doesn't work with us on something, we don't take that personally. Just like, I was thinking we've got the last 2 or 3 people that have left Post House we've still worked with.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, if you got something else you want to do, you should go do that. But if you have time, we got something that
if you got some time, we could really use a sit on this.
This is a good fit for you if you want to do it. Those types of things, and still have those relationships, which I think speak to the fact that relationships, Post House talking about how important relationships are, isn't bullshit.
Right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap, and thanks for
up against the hard break.
Yeah, we got the sponsors. We got to get in there. Coming up. But no, thank you for doing this. I mean, this is cool. It's a lot easier than I thought it would be. But it's actually just having these conversations that we have all the time. And thanks for being here, and looking forward to 2019.
You could do it. Next time we'll talk about all the things we don't like.
I like that. What we call that one?
What I always steal Family Guy. You know what grinds my gears?
I like that. We can go with that. Hopefully we won't get sued by Seth MacFarlane. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, see ya.